No, we had a meeting yesterday afternoon after this email with Revenue and Senator Bowers, and they're working on some amendments for that. With that, the first thing I'd like to do this morning is to take up Senate Bill 113. Adam, could you give us a briefing?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 113 provides that individuals who have been found to have been operating a motor vehicle at speed of 100 miles or more or 35 miles an hour above the posted speed limit would qualify under the crime of reckless driving. Under the stated earlier, the current definition of reckless driving would include such individuals found to operate a speed of 100 miles per hour or more or 35 miles an hour above the posted speed limit. And this would be without regard to any culpable mental state. Current reckless driving is limited to operating a vehicle in a willful or wanton disregard for the safety of persons or property. Under the bill, individuals who are found guilty solely of operating a vehicle at a speed of 100 miles or more or 35 miles an hour above the posted speed limit would not have such persons' driving privileges revoked solely for such action. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for your questions.
Committee, any questions for Adam? Seeing none, thank you. Committee, what's your pleasure with this bill? Senator Cluse.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just moved that we would pass Senate Bill 113 out favorably.
Moved by Senator Cluse, seconded by Senator everybody, Clem. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. The bill is passed out favorably. And Senator Cluse, I know you have a passion for this. Would you mind carrying this on the floor for me? Sure. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, committee will turn our attention to Senate Bill 119. We'll open a hearing on it. Adam, can you give us a briefing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 119 would increase the amount deposited into special funds for expenses from both license applications and applications for certificate of titles excuse me, that are maintained by a county treasurer, the Division of Vehicles, or contractor processing such items. The current 75 cents for license application would be raised to $5.75, and the application for certificate of title is raised from $2 to $3.50. I would note that license application is actually the registration fee for vehicles, so don't be confused. The term license application is not actually referred to driver's license, it's the registration fee. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions for Adam? Seeing none, thank you. First up, we have my Sedgwick County Treasurer, Brandy Bailey. Welcome to the committee.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Brandy Bailey, Sedgwick County Treasurer, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to our testimony on Senate Bill 119. So this bill, what we're hoping to do is to reallocate the fees that are in the statute to help provide the county treasurers with more funding to support our offices. So really what I want to do today is just tell you a little bit how this is impacting Sedgwick County at the moment, and then hopefully how a change would help us in the future. So right now, when the statute was passed many, many decades ago, the funding that was set in there was intended to help support the treasurers who took over the motor vehicle funds for the state. And for many years that did occur, and it took care of the operating costs. But as time has gone on and costs have increased, the wages that we pay our employees have increased, that funding no longer sustains our operations. And on top of those increase in costs, we are now having to buy our own computer equipment and our printers, which at one time the state provided those for us. So it's just more expenses that are coming into our office that the county treasurers are having to use these fees that are built into the statute to cover that. Right now, 3 years ago, Sedgwick County got to the point where it did not, the fees that are already there did not cover that. So 3 years ago, when that came into play, Sedgwick County had to use property tax dollars in tune of about $200,000 to support the operations of the Sedgwick County tag offices. In 2023, that cost increased up to $374,000. Last year, Sedgwick County had to supplement the tag office $655,000. This year for 2025, it's projected $960,000. That we're using property tax supported money to cover a state function. Sedgwick County did say this last year, they passed a resolution, our Board of County Commissioners, that they will no longer fund this. So what that means to me as the county treasurer for the county is that I'm going to have to cut staff. And right now I have 79 employees that cover 2 tag offices in Sedgwick County. We do, and this bill that we're asking for the reallocation is to reallocate funding for title work and registration fees. Right now I do 415,000 registration renewals a year, and this was last year's numbers, and 109,000 title transactions each year, and I have 79 employees. Out of those 79 employees, approximately 50 of those employees are my frontline workers. So if nothing is passed and Sedgwick County says they're not going to continue to support the funding with property tax dollars, then I'm going to have to cut 25 employees. That's what will get me to that $926,000. If I cut 25 employees, that's a third of my staff. But remember, I said about 50 of those staff are my frontline workers. So I'm cutting an entire office, essentially. And I am in a lease. One of my office spaces is a lease that is leased till 2028. So I will be in an office building that has no employees, that I'm still paying the lease on and paying all the utilities for, in order to cover just Sedgwick County to one tag office with 25 employees. And like I said, remember, I have over 500,000 transactions, and that's just title work and registration renewals. That doesn't include all the extra handicap placards we deal with, salvage titles. So it doesn't include everything. And so I just want to ask you for your support in this. Please pass this out favorably so that way we can try to help the county treasurers in going forward. And I'll stand for any questions.
Committee questions. Senator Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question, it's sort of also, though, not your problem, so to speak, but this would be a $16 million hit to our highway fund. And so I think for really maybe for all of us on the committee, I think we need to be thinking in terms of what are we going to do? How are we going to make the highway fund whole? How are we going to replace those funds? Because, I mean, I think all the testimony we're going to hear from the treasurers is pretty similar, and I think that makes a lot of sense from your perspective, but I am worried about that $16 million hole in the highway fund, and I think it's good for the committee to start thinking about ways we can make that whole if we decide to move forward with this. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
What's your current wait time?
Currently at the moment, but we're in our slow season. You can get in 45 minutes, but when we do get into our busy season, we're looking 2, 3, 4 hours, just depending on which month we are. And like I said, that's with me having 50 employees. So as we get down and if we go down to a 25 employee office, that wait time is going to be astronomical. Not that it's not astronomical now. I do need more employees, but I can't afford to hire more employees right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Brandy, for your testimony. It's nice to see you. I guess I'm a little confused by the senator's comments because we're looking at increasing the fees too. So isn't that correct with this legislation?
This legislation doesn't increase the fees. The fees are already there collected at the office. It's just reallocating the fees as far as to how much the county treasurers get to keep out of the money we bring in.
So this is a different avenue than what you guys
Correct.
have tried in the past?
Correct.
Okay. I understand. Let's try to help find you a solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Committee, further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Shiloh Heger. How about I get that one?
Hager, it's closed, yeah. I'm Shiloh Hager. I'm the Riley County Treasurer, and I'm also the Legislative Chair for the Kansas County Treasurers Association. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. With your permission, Chairman, I would like to recognize the support of the county treasurers that are here in attendance because of how important this is. If you guys would just please stand, because this is a very important subject for the county treasurers. I've been on the committee, the motor vehicle committee, for 6 years trying to come up with a solution to this issue. Like Senator Tyson mentioned, we've tried various avenues. We've tried completely overhauling the entire fee program. We've tried just adding to a county service fee. We did, several years ago, we got a very controversial facility fee added that some treasurers are taking advantage of and most are not. But just like property tax dollars are important to the legislatures, it's also important to county government, and we're trying to find a solution to prevent the motor vehicle operations from having to be covered by ad valorem tax dollars. Since 2012, when the movers system went into place, a lot of the work shifted from the Department of Revenue to the county treasurers. They stopped providing services to the public, which then were picked up by county treasurers, and they also contracted with a third-party vendor. We took over all of the title approving and all of the supervision of those titles, and a lot of counties had to hire additional staff. The system requires a lot of computer equipment that at one point the department did provide to the treasurers, but now that is all having to be funded by the fees that are retained. Those fees, and I will mention the 75 cents per registration and $2 per title, has not changed in over 40 years. And as you know, costs just continue to increase. So we're doing the same work, additional work, with the same dollars that we've been getting for over 40 years. Currently, the statute allows for 75 cents of each registration. A registration on a regular vehicle is $30. The treasurers get 75 cents, and the state gets $29.25. We are just asking that money be reallocated. I do understand that money does go to KDOT, and then KDOT takes that money and helps fund the motor vehicle department, is my understanding. You know, it's not our place to tell you how that allocation needs to go, but we're just asking that maybe you look for a way to find if that money needs to go to us instead of to KDOR. We also were very cognizant of what that dollar figure looked like, and we did a survey with our county treasurers and asked them where their position is right now. And when we look at that across the state, we are showing that the counties are currently across the state losing $13 million annually, having to be covered by ad valorem tax dollars. And so we wanted to find a solution that didn't increase fees to the customer. And we were also trying to find what that magic dollar was. And this is what we came up with. Even with this figure, only 70% of the counties are covered. Riley County is one that we will not be made whole with this solution, but we were willing to take whatever we could get at this point in time. I know we have one more conferee from the county treasurers, and he will attest to what things look like in his office as well. I do know that if this is not passed, I have county commissioners as well who are saying we're not going to fund this as well, and I may also be looking at having to cut staff, cut services, and that will just be a dissatisfaction to my constituents. So with that, I will be happy to stand for any questions at the appropriate time.
Committee questions. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. You had said that the county treasurers have been doing the same work and that they're doing additional work too. I may have missed, what's the additional work? Because I would think over the decades, if it's the same work, but now we have computers, maybe that would help with some efficiencies. So what's the
So-
additional work?
Sure. So we do title approving, which we used to back in we have to bundle up all the paperwork, send it to the Department of Revenue. They did all the research to make sure things were done correctly. They've now turned all of that over to the treasurer. So we do the title approving. We also, in addition to just the title and registration, they have asked us to take on commercial vehicles, IRP vehicles, and that doesn't even really touch on, this legislation doesn't really even touch on that. But, but with the title approving, we've had to hire, like I said, hire additional staff in order to dedicate people to that function while we have the other people that handles the front lines. And I will say that the motor vehicle system, yes, it is a computer system, but it is not the most efficient computer system. It's slow. It does not, there's a lot it goes down a lot. So even with that, it doesn't speed up the process.
I have a little bit of a follow-up, and we hear a lot about looking at redundancies. Have our county treasurer's offices, are they looking at any redundancies that we might have? And all I'm hearing is a need for more, but are we looking to be more efficient as well? And looking at, do we have multiple people doing the same thing?
To be honest with you, my staff, they are busy from the time we open the doors until 5 o'clock just helping customers. There's really not a way, they're not doing, yes, they're all doing title work or they're all doing, but there's not a way that, there's not a way for us to, I would say, I don't think there is redundancy. We're just doing the customers as they walk in the door. So I don't know. I wish there was a way that we had more people that did things online, but a lot of people don't want to pay a convenience fee if there's, and the reality is we can't afford to cover, credit card costs and that kind of thing. So some people do prefer still to just come in the office.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next up, we have James Du Bois, Saline County. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. What an honor and a pleasure it is to be here today. And I hate to sound repetitive, but the bulk of our funding in Saline County and the rest of the treasurer is based off of a $5 motor vehicle fee, which hasn't increased in 17 years. And if you look at the registration fees at 75 cents, that hasn't increased in 50 years. And the $2 title fee hasn't increased in 43 years. So with those funds, not to sound repetitive again, I've got to pay my whole staff, my motor vehicle staff. I got to pay for all the supplies. I got to pay for the computers. I got to pay for the ink. I've got to pay for everything. In 2024, last year, we had a satellite office in the south part of our county. And due to the increase of cost for rent, I was forced to shut that one down and a reduction in staff. The problem is that now we have one office located in our city-county building, which caused extremely long lines, extremely long. Senator Warren, I think he had made a point over the lines that we have, and people were having to wait an hour, 2 hours just to even get in to do that. As far as redundancy is concerned, we have people that are dedicated to do nothing but commercial. We have people that try and work solely on titles and registration fees. So it's, I guess, as I stand up here today, I took a beating in Saline County. The media wasn't happy. The people that were coming to our office was not happy. because of the long lines and the long wait that they had to endure in that whole process. And we're looking for solutions again. So what I'm asking is that through Senate Bill 119, for you to please consider relocating the funds and services that we have for our service fee and for our title fees. And once again, how you do that will be up to this committee to kind of figure out. But it is much needed, not only in Saline County, but it's much needed throughout the state of Kansas. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, you got off easy, James.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
Next up, we have Jay Hall. On the committee, Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jay Hall, the Deputy Director and General Counsel for the Kansas Association of Counties. I won't be repetitive here. I think you've heard the numbers, so I want to talk about the customer service side of this. When we talk about reductions in staff that would be necessary to get all of our counties made whole by the dollars that they bring in, we're really talking about a reduction in customer service. When I first moved to Shawnee County here, a little less than 20 years ago, the first time I went to register my vehicle, the wait time was probably 3 or 4 hours. You had to, I was told by somebody when I was getting ready to go register my vehicle that I needed to be prepared to either spend the entire morning or the entire afternoon at the treasurer's office because of how slow it was. To the point that it became an issue in the election, and we got a new treasurer that made sweeping changes, opened up an annex office, hired more staff, and the wait times went from about 4 hours to last year I registered my vehicle. I was in and out of the tag office in probably less than 45 minutes. That's the difference when we talk about this type of thing, is that it's the difference in waiting 3 or 4 hours and waiting 40 or 45 minutes. And that matters to our taxpayers because it's very frustrating to go in and try to do your required things and have to wait 3 or 4 or 5 hours because of staffing. That's very frustrating for our constituents. And so we don't want them to have to do that. We don't want to cut staff to the point that everybody says, well, if you're going to renew your license or you're going to renew your registration, you need to block off the entire morning or you need to block off the whole afternoon because you're going to be up there. You might need to take off the day from work because you're going to be at the tag office for 4 hours waiting in line. So that's really what we're talking about here, is a customer service aspect. And we want to make sure that we're serving our taxpayers. With that, I would stand for questions.
Jay, do you know how many of our counties have the appointment system available?
I don't know exactly how many. I would look to maybe the Treasurers Association to see if they know.
I'd say probably 25.
You want to step up to Mike real quick?
I would say there's probably about 25. Mostly it's usually the bigger offices that have appointment systems in place right now. So that's why I don't know if that first exact number, but approximately.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Hall, I think you're the best person to answer this question. Thanks for your testimony today. And I agree, nobody likes to wait in long lines, especially for government services. So I appreciate the efforts to expedite that process and be more efficient. I know that you can renew your vehicle registration online, and then you're not in an appointment at all. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. And that there's an app called ICANN, ICANN,
Yes.
and you can renew it right there. So what is the effort on behalf of our counties to make that more usable for Kansans so you don't have to go to the office at all?
I think some people like using ICANN. I think the drawback with ICANN is that either you have to pay with a credit card, which obviously requires you to then pay a convenience fee on top of the registration fee, or you have to, I think you can still send in a check with ICANN. So it's one of those two things, and I think for a lot of people, they'd rather not mail the check, and they'd also rather not pay the convenience fee. And so because of that, I think is what drives a lot of people to go into the office, simply because they don't want to pay either the convenience fee or mail that check.
What's the convenience fee? I don't recall.
The convenience fee is, I think, 1.5% to 3%. It's the credit card fee that's attached. If they didn't pay that fee, then essentially the tag office would also be paying that fee on top of everything else to cover the credit card charge.
So when they pay with a credit card at the office, they'll be still paying that same
Yes, if they
convenience
pay with a
fee?
credit card at the office, they would still pay that same fee.
So maybe some education on ICANN, that you'll be paying, if you pay by credit card, you'll be paying that convenience fee either way. So it's not a charge that ICANN charges for convenience, or is it?
No, it's the credit card charge.
Okay, so again, they'd be paying the same whether it's online or at the office. So, yeah, maybe, because that's available when they mail you your registration. It says you can register online, but so maybe a little statement about that.
I think the other, not problem with ICANN, but you need to do that much earlier in the month in order to get your information back. If you wait until the last week and a half, ICANN's probably not going to work for you, because you're probably not going to get your sticker back in time before the end of the
But I'm pretty sure you can print out your
Yes, you can print
receipt
out your
and
receipt
show if
everything.
there's any need to.
Right,
So.
but a lot of people like to have that sticker, obviously, so I think that's the other concern that people have, because they worry that they're not going to get that information back on time if they wait till 20.
Sure, but it's still on time because you have your receipt. So,
Right,
but anyway, it's an option for folks, so they don't have to wait in line at all. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Committee for their questions. Seeing none, thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Committee note, you have a long list of written testimony from Ryan Beatty, Anthony Newell, Renee Neff, Joe Grizzlano, Janelle Nails, Mike Taylor, Christine Smith. Is there anybody else wishing to appear as a proponent?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. My name is Susan Duffy. I was sworn in as treasurer just a week ago. So I'm new to this, but I will tell you, I've been as new to the detail, standing with customers. You didn't go online. I don't trust computers. I like to do it in person, whatever it is, or they come with a bundle of papers. I have a problem. That's a lot of it, where they're coming with, it's not a simple, just a renewal, there are issues. So I've been visiting with people this past week, what brings you into the office? There is nothing more grassroots, more like the basic government service than getting your driver's license and your title and tag. It doesn't matter your age, whatever, you're going to find your way into our office somehow. And I am amazed at the service we provide the public. The public isn't always happy. Sometimes the public is hard to understand. They're not clear. But our clerks are very even and civil with folks, and we're trying to resolve their issue and get them out the door. But the slow time, which was January, is because we haven't started the alphabet really, and it picks up, but it's still been busy. Everybody's been coming in with all their trailers and all of that. A lot of them come in with cash, and we accept a lot of cash as well. Folks don't want to pay a credit card. They don't have a credit card. They don't have a check. They have cash. But then I'm sitting down with the clerks. Okay, they did this. Now what do we do? And the back end of the processing. Okay, they were online. What do we do with those? And we have to go through each of those as well. This is a process, and it's very government at its most basic level. But I think the main thing is the customer service we provide. This is how they remember how effective government is or is not. And our goal is to keep the line moving, get people served, get them in and out the door. And I've heard people say, wow, I was in and out in, 15 minutes. And they're thrilled because they're expecting something else, something worse. One woman brought her sandwiches in. I mean, okay, that was kind of disturbing. We have a cafeteria in the basement. We have one annex, and a lot of people go out there, and would I do better if I go to the courthouse? Is it a shorter line there? It's been interesting, and frankly, after a week, I was exhausted. And thank goodness we have young clerks who have a even, cheerful demeanor. But I will say we're serving a lot of older people who make the trek in, and in all kinds of weather, walking up to the courthouse, and a lot of them come in the courthouse, but they have other business to attend. But I can't tell you how many people came in with a raft of papers, and we have a concierge, and she stands there to make sure you have everything you need before you sit down. And if you don't, you go out the door and we give you a number so you can come back in line. So we're doing a lot of things to, and maybe we need to do a commercial. Yeah, get online. Yeah, do it that way. I don't know, we're not commercial type of people. So, but I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, and it will be my goal to ensure that we have efficient, effective service. And I believe that my previous treasurer, he had really beat the bushes hard on that to make sure that we're spending the taxpayer money well. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, if you type something up and send it in
I
to
will.
the
Thank
committee
you.
secretary, it'd be appreciated. If you stand for questions. Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to back up what Susan was saying. I've been one of those thrilled customers, and I've gone in there very grumpy and was out 20 minutes later, and I thought, wow, how is that possible? So it's a great office.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Senator Dietrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say welcome to our new Shawnee County Treasurer. This is Susan Duffy. Thank you so much. And honestly, I've lived here for 24 years, and it is getting so much better. The speed at which you can get your tags and titles, and I unfortunately was one of those people that came in with a stack of papers a few years ago. So really doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Senator Byers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and hi, Susan, how are you? This could be for anyone, and even Jay. In our conversations about lowering property taxes, something I've heard from county commissioners are the mandates that the state puts on the counties. And I'm curious to see if we went this route, and perhaps Jay, maybe you're the best to answer it, would this lower property taxes if we take one of the mandates away, one of the 18 things that the state makes the counties do, which this is one, but this lower property taxes, I know it's a shift and how we're doing this from state dollars going back into our counties. What do you think about that?
I think it would not require counties to then supplement that with, supplement the motor vehicle operation with property tax dollars, so it should lower property taxes, yes.
That's what I was curious about, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cluse. I just want to let you know that the people in the tag office in my county have the patience of a saint. I've sat in there a few times, and they're a lot more patient than I would be on the other side of the glass. Committee, we'll look for, is there any opponent testimony? We'll turn our attention to neutrals. First up, we have Joe Skelly with KDOT.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Joel Skelly, Director of Policy, Kansas Department of Transportation. I simply want to be able to state that, as you note in our testimony, we are neutral on this, and we're willing to work with anybody that wants to try and find a solution. We recognize that there is a cost to collecting these fees and the, and permitting, or not permitting, issuing the registrations and the titles, certificates of title. However, as noted by Senator Corson, there is a cost to this that's coming out of the State Highway Fund. Currently, if this were to go into effect, it would be $16 million. So we want to make sure that the committee is aware of that as you seek solutions. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions for Joel? You got off easy. Oh, hold on. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not too easy. Thanks, Joel. So I don't remember, I know when the previous legislation was put in, I don't remember who testified against the fee increase. Where did you guys come in on that?
I believe we may have been neutral, but I will have to check and see. That a minute has passed since that happened, truthfully.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, as conservative as I am, I'm not one that argues for fee increases, but I guess could we ask from research what we would be looking at if we went that route instead of taking it out of transportation? Would you be receptive to that then? Would you come?
We're completely willing to work with you guys to figure out a solution. We would want to be able to look at what that is. And one question that you raised that we had asked ourselves is, what is the cost actually to make sure that we are getting the correct amount of money for the folks that are doing this collection? So we aren't aware of that, but I'm sure the county commissioners and folks do know that. So we would definitely be willing to work on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Probably not a question, just a statement. And I would kind of ditto Senator Tyson that we look at some kind of a fee increase. I'm not sure, coming back previously, how this would affect our property taxes, but I think it's obvious we have a situation that's been ongoing. We need a fix. We need to find it. The appointment system I've been very pleased with here at the Shawnee County Annex, and if we have a lot of different annexes that can do something in the interim along those lines, that has proved to be very beneficial, and especially with all the different paperwork and stuff. But I would also say, Senator Warren, the ICANN is a great way to get things done as well. So I think we can get a fix to this. So thank you.
Senator Albright.
Thank you, Chair. My concerns are probably echoing what you've just heard. A shift concerns me, and I'm surprised we don't have any opponents on this list when you talk about a shift. So I would be open to other ideas. Thank you, Chair.
Some questions? Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for your testimony here today, Joel. Do you have any information how many folks go into the office to conduct their business and how many use ICANN?
I do not, truthfully. That would probably be a good question for the treasurers as well as possibly KDOR, but that they would know better than we do.
I, for one, am glad we have options, of course. And again, we want government to run efficiently, whichever option you're going to use. So just curious, are more people moving to ICANN? But it's good to have the availability also to walk in. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
See no further questions. Thank you, Joel. Next up, we have Michael White. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael White, Executive Director of the Kansas Contractors Association. And I want to start off by addressing Senator Tyson's question, because I don't remember, I think we were neutral 2 years ago on that bill. We are neutral on this bill because this really is a policy question for the legislature to decide these fees and how they're allocated. What I will tell you, and I've included in my testimony, I think we need to focus on this just for a brief minute. This is the fund transfers from the highway fund over the last several fiscal years. We could move this back another 20 years, and there's always been some level of transfers out of the highway fund. We are now down to what we call ordinary transfers out of the highway fund, and those are for things like the Highway Patrol, the Department of Revenue, things that have a direct correlation to the highway system. What I will tell you, though, we don't raise this concern with legislature very often. But ordinary transfers are not going down. They're not staying flat. They're increasing. And I'm sure a lot of that is inflationary costs of the departments that are funded by those ordinary transfers. But I will say, when you look at the allocation of these funds, there is 56 million allocated in FY26 out of that 146 ordinary transfers that are dedicated to the Vehicle Motor Fund at Department of Revenue for these types of services. I'm not standing here suggesting that that's where you find the 16 million, but that would be one solution to keep the highway fund whole for construction projects. The other option you have is what Senator Tyson said, simply raising some fees. And we definitely want to be part of a solution here. We understand the concern. One of my first lobbying clients, when I started lobbying in 2001 with Steve Kearney, was the county treasurers. They run great offices. And I live here in Shawnee County, and I'll tell you, you can make an appointment and go down and be in and out of that office in 10 minutes. If you don't want to do it, and I've done it online as well with ICANN. So I have seen so many efficiencies with the county treasurer offices. I'm comfortable from my perspective in looking at these fees that they're in here asking for something that's a legitimate fee for their operations. What I want and what we always will say is costs of construction projects are not going down. They're going up, as you all know. Inflation has been real the last several years. This isn't just 16 million annually. This would be 80 million over the life of the IKE plan over the last 5 years. So we're talking about real money for real construction projects at a time when the highway fund needs those dollars. So it really is, we are truly neutral on this policy on how you guys decide to determine the allocation of these funds, whether you decide to raise the funds. If you guys want to raise the funds, we'll be the first one in here to support that. Absolutely, we will support it. We are truly neutral, but we do advocate strongly to keep the highway fund whole in whatever we decide. So with that, I'll stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am not advocating one way or the other. I don't want to blow up their bill. I am just asking for options so that we can get the numbers in front of us. And it sounds to me like you definitely are leaning one way, not the other. Would that be correct? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't, in terms of leaning one way or the other, I'm just simply wanting to keep the highway fund whole. And we're very much aligned with KDOT. We're willing to sit down with all the parties. I've been talking to Steve Kearney the last 2 days. I think there are some options to look at in keeping the highway fund whole and trying to accomplish what the treasurers are trying to accomplish.
Any further questions? We have someone from Revenue here. Would you be able to answer how much the Revenue gets to keep? Or Rhonda?
Deanne Williams, Vehicle Coordinator for Division of Vehicles. And I don't have that number off the top of my head. You know, I know that we work with KDOT to get the money back for the license plates, for all of the other items that we need, as well as the reimbursement back for salaries. And we can get the numbers and get that information to Florence to send out to the committee if you'd like.
Would appreciate that.
Okay, we'll get that. We'll work on that today.
Thank you. Committee, any further questions? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing. Looking for the number. 119. Sorry about that. Close the hearing on Senate Bill 119. Committee, thank you for your work today. Committee, you know we probably will be working Monday. Just as a note. We do not know yet about Friday. It's time to get questions going and people need to get some bills worked together. That